Okay, so welcome. We do have some people who don't really know about my background and my journey. So I would like to share a little bit about that. Um, so from the age of about 19 till 25, I experienced pain throughout my body, predominantly my left side. I did have a bit of right shoulder pain too, but yeah, it started off as kind of a bit of numbness in the legs, and you go to the physio and he rubs it out and you get a bit of relief. But over time, it just began to get a lot worse. And it got to the stage where I was about 25 and I was just experiencing pain all the time. And I really felt like there was no way out. But luckily, I managed to, firstly, luckily, the disease was there because it was a gift. I didn't see it at the time, but it navigated me down this path of yoga, of Tantra, Ayurveda, healing, the mind-body connection. So it has been a gift, even though I definitely didn't see it at the time when I was 23. Um, but yeah, here I am now. And I just feel so blessed really to have gained these different practices and wisdom over the past 5 years since I've been on this journey. And really, I just love to share. I love to talk about these topics and I love to share with people. So that's really about what this is about. It's a culmination of everything that I've learned over the past 5 years, all the best bits, just to help you heal from any symptoms you may have and connect to your intrinsic state of health. So yeah, um, that's just a little bit about my journey. In terms of my approach, it really is an empowered approach. Um, this is just something I actually spoke to Kev about. He's here at the moment. Is when we're struggling on the journey, it's always nice to have someone who we see has been through it and has come out the other side. And that's really why I do like to share, is because I've been through it. I've done the work and I've healed and I've come out the other side. And I think it's always inspiring for people who are struggling with symptoms to have someone who has been through it, has done all the work, has tried the things that haven't worked. And there's also things that have worked and then is able to share that. I just think it's particularly helpful. I remember when I was struggling, I really wanted someone that I could relate to, someone who was struggling with pain like I was. So whether it's pain, whether it's digestive issues, whether it's headaches, whether it's autoimmune, whether it's chronic symptoms, a lot of the time the causes are similar. And that's what I'm going to go into today, the different causes of the disease, and then the different ways in which we can heal. And then in terms of my approach, it really is an empowered approach. So you're learning to heal yourself. It's not about a quick fix. It's not about this model of, waiting for someone to save you. It's about learning that you can heal yourself. And any healer who's a true healer, it's not this dependent relationship. It's a relationship where they're empowering you. And that's really what I'm about. So look, that's a little bit about my journey, my approach. In terms of the structure of today, there'll be 4 different parts. We're going to do a relaxation at the start. Most of the practices I focus on are to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest. Many of us live in a constant state of mild to severe fight or flight, which is one of the causes of the disease we experience. So just accessing rest and digest and experiencing what it is to be calm, to be at peace, can be a really transformative experience for people, because the disease can become so familiar to them. So that's the first bit. We'll do a relaxation exercise. We'll then do a talk for about 45 minutes. It can be very conversational. If you have any questions in terms of your own symptoms, please do ask. And then we'll do another breathwork technique, and then we'll go into a self-healing guided meditation. So yeah, that's the structure. So we're going to begin with this exercise. So if you'd like to lie back, I think it's nicest to do this lying back. So you can, if you have a place to lie back, please do. If you don't, that's cool. You can sit up. And then you can just gently close your eyes. So just giving yourself permission here to slow down, to pause, and to switch off. There's nothing you have to do. And there's nowhere to get to. And from that place, just allow yourself to be here in the now. Feeling the support of the earth beneath you, and just allowing your body to completely surrender into the earth. Allowing the earth to hold you, to support you. And I'd now invite you to place both of your hands onto your belly. We're going to begin by taking a few breaths into the belly, diaphragm breaths. So placing both hands in the belly, and on your next inhale, introducing your breath into the belly, feeling your belly expand as your hands rise. Exhale, allow your stomach to contract as your hands fall. Continuing at your own pace, on your inhales, breathing deeply into the belly, feeling the belly expand, the hands rise. On your exhales, allow your stomach to contract as the hands fall. And continue here, breathing deeply into the belly. Finding your own natural rhythm. Continuing to breathe deeply into the belly, feeling the belly expand. And on your exhales, allow the stomach to contract. Keeping one hand on your belly, we're now going to transition the other hand onto the chest. So there'll be one hand on belly, one hand on chest. And we'll continue to inhale into the belly, feeling your belly expand. And this time, allow your breath to naturally rise up into your chest. On your exhales, slowly release, relaxing the chest and emptying the lungs. On your inhales, breathing into the belly expands, the breath rises into the chest. On your exhales, slowly release, relaxing the chest as you empty the lungs. And continue here with a few more rounds of this diaphragm breath at your own pace. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It's just an exploration of your breath. With the intention of adding some length and some depth to the breath. And now, with each breath, continuing this diaphragm breath, allowing your breath to become silent. So the breath is completely silent. And now allowing the breath to become completely smooth. Refining the breath, allowing the breath to become completely silent and smooth. And now allowing the breath to be even. So even in length between inhale and exhale. Silent, smooth, even breath. And now releasing all effort. So allowing the breath to become effortless. And now you are watching the breath, observing the breath. As you transition to the experience, I am not the breather. I am not the breather. I am spacious awareness that watches the body breathe. And you can now return to your body, just bringing some gentle movement back into the body, whatever feels nice.
And her occasional work in the red light area of Birmingham made detecting her murder even more.
And then slowly rolling onto one of your sides, making a cushion with your hand or your arm. And then eventually, in your own time, making your way back to a comfortable seat. Okay, so that's a little relaxation exercise that I've learned. I just combined all the different elements. I suppose that it really helped to be relaxing for myself. There's a little bit of yoga nidra at the end there. That concept of I'm not the breather, I'm spacious awareness, experiencing the body breathe. Something that I've learned over here, and it's a really great technique to just be that witness consciousness. Um, so yeah, that's a little bit of a relaxation technique. And look, from my personal experience, the reason practices were very beneficial for me is because it gave me the actual experience of it. Um, I for years had just been in so much pain that it had become so familiar to me, I didn't know anything else was possible. But when I started doing these practices, I got a glimpse of peace, calm, ease. So then at least I knew it was possible, whereas nothing had ever gave me any sort of relief before. So that just gives you, that's why I like to do a balance of practice as well as kind of talks and sharing wisdom. But now we're going to get into the talk. There is a hen going absolutely mad behind me. Um, it's so if I get a little bit distracted, that's why I might just need to check notes. Um, but otherwise, all is good. If anyone has any questions on the practice, you're welcome to reach out. You're welcome to ask now before we begin. But if not, we'll plow on ahead. Okay, cool. So where I like to start is just talking about what is health. Because this completely, when I began to get a definition of health like this, it really began to change how I viewed health completely. Because up until that point, I viewed health purely from a physical perspective. I went to the gym, ate well, slept well, did all those kind of things on a physical level. And for me, it was quite confusing why I had disease in my body because I did look after myself on a physical level. So I couldn't understand why I was experiencing these symptoms. In Sanskrit, which is the language they use in yoga, the word that they use for health is svasta, and it means to be rooted in the self. And I don't really feel like I need to elaborate too much more on that. Just let that kind of sit with you in terms of what that means to you. But when I heard that, I was like, wow, that is such an incredible definition of health. I don't even really know what it means, but it speaks to me at a deeper level. Um, like the mind can't really figure out what that means, but it speaks to the soul. And yeah, even just let that sit with you, to be rooted in the self. That's what health means. And then Ayurveda, when I began to study Ayurveda, the definition of an individual who is in perfect health, it was the last line that really, when I heard it, it just struck me. And it said, one whose mind, senses, and self is full of bliss. This is someone who is in perfect health. And when I didn't even know that was possible as a human to experience mind, senses, and self full of bliss. But this is what they call an individual who is in perfect health. And it really just changed my idea of what health was. Again, coming away from the physical, like being in good physical health, looking well. It was so much more than that. It was to be at peace with yourself. And that's why we'll get into it a bit. Health really does start in the mind. So there are two definitions that I like to start with. And, really when it comes to health, the way I look at it is it's like a sliding scale. So we have 0 to 10 and then 0 to -10. So 0 is like absent of disease. It's kind of like you're okay, right? -10 is like chronic symptoms, right? Let's say it's like stage 4 cancer is -10. And then you have 10 on the positive scale is like bliss. And then you also have peace, joy, ease, freedom from 0 to 10, right? And the way I look at it is 0 to 10 is thriving, right? And that's our true nature. And then 0 to -10 is surviving. So your nature is to thrive, right? It's not just to survive. But if we're constantly struggling with disease, we're in survival mode. So this is about shifting from surviving into thriving. And yeah, that's just something that's always helped me, is thinking of that scale, surviving into thriving. And one thing that, again, is like really changed the game for me is realizing that health is my nature. So it's actually who I am. And then, but what happens is the disease is something that we accumulate throughout our lives, whether it's through physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, some sort of accumulation of disease that eventually manifests in the symptoms. But my nature is health, and your nature is health. It's who you are. So it's about reconnecting to our true nature, which is health and vitality. So that's just a little bit of a definition about health and moving beyond the physical. So if that's what's health, then what is disease? So disease is, it's in the word, right? Dis-ease. So it's a lack of ease. So anywhere that we're lacking ease in terms of our emotions, mentally, maybe relationships, maybe work, maybe our finances, it's all a lack of ease. So if we're lacking ease in different areas of our life, it eventually, and it doesn't happen overnight, but it accumulates, and eventually begins to manifest as the physical symptoms that we experienced called dis-ease. And, this is where, when people say, I just got this thing overnight, right? I slipped a disc, or I've got back pain, it happened overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. There's 6 stages of disease in Ayurveda. And it's only stage 4 when we actually begin to experience the symptom on a physical level. So there's already been 4 stages of this imbalance before we start actually experiencing the symptom on a physical level. So that shows us that symptoms don't just happen overnight. It's an imbalance that's happened over time. And really, the symptom at the physical level, it's actually a gift, because it's showing us somewhere where we're not in alignment. And then it's an opportunity for us to come back into alignment. Like I speak about my own personal experience. I was just out of alignment, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. And the disease was actually a gift, because it allowed me to come back into alignment. Okay? So yeah, that's just a little bit about health, a little bit about disease. So now talking, I think a really important thing to understand as well when it comes to health is understanding who we are. Because for many people, they're completely identified with their disease and they're misidentified with it. And this doesn't even have to be chronic. It can even be something like a cough or a cold, people are completely misidentified with it. Like, I am sick, right? A misidentification. But we'll get into it anyway. So basically, who am I? So you're a spiritual being having a human experience. So spirit being consciousness, right? And part of we have an intrinsic state of health. So health is innate. Vitality, well-being, they're innate qualities of this experience. But many people get misidentified with the human experience. So the human experience is made up of feelings, thoughts, emotions, and also sensations and symptoms. Symptoms we could call disease, right? Sensations also is what people experience as disease too, but we'll get into that. So the spirit is unchanging and the human experience is changing. So it's impermanent. So everything, thoughts, emotions, sensations, symptoms, they're constantly changing. They come and go. But what happens is we get identified with them as part of this human experience. We think they're who we are. And we forget that actually we're the soul who witnesses all those different aspects of the human experience. We watch them come and go. That they're not who we are. And this is where, many people get tripped up when it comes to their health. They become identified with the disease. So you think about, on a mental level, you talk about depression or anxiety. People identify, they say, I am an anxious person, right? So now what happens to them is they have become identified with anxiety. They think it's who they are. And if you wake up every morning and you say, I am an anxious person, in all likelihood, you're going to feel anxious. And when you don't, you're going to be worried about feeling anxious because you've identified with the emotion instead of realizing that actually I'm a soul having a human experience. And as part of that human experience, I can feel anxious. That's part of being human, but it's not who I am. I'm not identified with it. And I actually can allow it to be there as part of that experience and just watch it arise and pass away. So the same can be depressed, same for depression. I am depressed. Just to reframe it, I feel like at this moment in time, I feel depressed. But that doesn't have to be the way it's always going to be because it will pass. All that part of that human experience is changing, it's fleeting, it's impermanent, and it comes and goes. So I like just to start with that, just to help people understand that even the symptoms they experience, even though they might seem chronic, right? That word chronic is associated with time. It's constantly changing. The body is like, it's constantly dying and rebirthing the cells. And the sensations we experience within the body are constantly changing. But for many people, what happens when they experience some sort of disease like digestive issues or even pain, and I know this from experience, is when they experience that sensation arise, they immediately have some sort of reactive response. They go into the story. They go into, oh, like, why am I feeling this way? What's this symptom? Like, I need to go to a doctor. I need to fix it. I need to get rid of it. Instead of just witnessing the sensation arise and could be completely non-reactive to it. And that is, honestly, it's been probably one of the most healing things for me is I practice non-reaction to sensations. Many people ask me, like, do you still experience pain? I do experience pain. It's part of the human experience. But the difference is my relationship to pain has completely changed. Now, I used to completely resist pain. Now, when pain arises, it's an opportunity just to embrace it. And I was chatting to Kev about this last week, and he even said like something beautiful. It's actually love the pain. Like imagine that if each time pain arose, you could just make space for it. And one little mantra that has really helped me whenever I experience some sort of pain or some thought or some sensation arise that's uncomfortable for me is I see you, I love you. There's absolutely no resistance whatsoever. It's just a total embrace of what I am experiencing at that moment. So I'll leave that one with you. It's one that's really helped me. I see you, I love you. So does anyone have any questions on that spiritual being human experience before we move on? Okay. So yeah, I've spoken a little bit about response to symptoms. And this is what gets wrapped up in people's symptoms, right? It's not just the symptom arising to the surface at this present time. There's many different things that affect the person at that time. They have emotions attached to it in terms of the past. So in terms of how it's impacted them in their past. So there can be frustration, there can be anger, and there can be sadness. And then also in the future, so the uncertainty of the disease. So the worry that, what is this? Like, is it ever going to go away? Is it ever going to stop? And that's why really it's an opportunity when if you experience symptoms at the moment, when the symptoms arise, just watch the story the mind plays, because it will really go into the story of like wanting to fix it, feeling like there's like something wrong with you. And instead, if you can really just be the witness and just not react to those sensations, you completely change the habit pattern of the mind, and you go from resistance into acceptance, which promotes healing. So moving on to the different causes of disease. So I can only speak to my own experience and from working with other people. Generally I speak about like the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual factors that cause disease. So for me, the number one was emotional suppression. And for many of us, it can be the case too, that during childhood or during our lives, we've suppressed our emotions. And for me, like one of my parts of my identity was I don't get angry, right? That was what I identified as. But what really happened is I wasn't making space for anger. So each time that anger arose, I suppressed it and I pushed it down. And it can be the same for emotions for many different people. When they experience the emotion, it becomes, they don't want to feel it. It's too uncomfortable. So they push it down. And that continuing of the pushing down of the emotion, because emotion is energy in motion. So if that energy doesn't get felt, it doesn't go anywhere. It just gets blocked in the body and creates disease. So really, when it comes to your emotions, just give yourself permission to feel them. That would be the number one thing. Just allow them. And so that's the first one, emotional suppression. The second one is identity. And this was a huge one for me, especially around the beliefs that I held about myself. And for those who have done the Peter Crone work, you'll be very aware of these. But there's various different beliefs that we can hold about ourselves that cause disease. For me, like, I only realized this subsequent to doing Peter's work. But I remember one day, it was a particular day that my symptoms just got a lot worse. And it was like all the power. I remember explaining this, that it was so hard to explain to people, but it was like all the power had been drained from my body. I was in the gym and I literally couldn't lift a weight. And it was only subsequent to doing Peter's work, I realized that one of my contexts was I'm powerless. So basically my body just began to mirror my mind. So I lived in this world of I'm powerless, and that began to reflect in my body. And equally with each of these contexts, if I believe that I'm not safe, if I believe that I'm powerless, if I believe that I'm not good enough, the body sits in the mind. So if the mind is in that in that belief of I'm not good enough, I'm not safe, I'm powerless, the physical body reflects that. So becoming aware of the different beliefs that you have about yourself is can be really helpful in learning about the different causes of disease. But from my experience of working with people and myself, the number one belief that contributes to disease is believing that there's something wrong with you. I honestly, when the first person said to me, there's nothing wrong with you, the amount of relief that gave me, because I had lived in this world of there's something wrong with me for so much of my life. And eventually, it was like my body just began to reflect that. It was like, okay, you keep telling yourself there's something wrong with you, we'll just start giving you symptoms. Then you'll have something to believe, like you'll actually begin to believe it's true. And it was only until I began to realize that there was nothing wrong with me at all. That was such a catalyst to my healing. And that didn't mean that my symptoms went away straight away. And this is a really important, I feel, for people to understand is you might be like, okay, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm a soul. I get it, but I still experience symptoms. The important thing to understand is, yes, that's part of the human experience, but there's nothing wrong with symptoms either, because that is where people get tripped up. They feel like the symptoms are wrong. And then and that creates resistance, and then they're constantly trying to get rid of them. They're constantly trying to fix it. But like I said, when your symptoms arise, if you can actually just not go into this whole story of there's something wrong with me, and instead just say, I see you, I love you. It's a completely different way to relate to your symptoms. Because like I said, I still can experience symptoms. I still experience unpleasant sensations and pain, but my relationship to them has completely changed. And that will promote healing more than anything. If you can change your relationship to pain, sensations, and your emotions. It's not about getting rid of them. It's about changing your relationship to them. Okay? And that was actually one of the other causes of disease, is that we have this dysfunctional relationship to pain and sensations. This is actually something that I only realized when I was kind of preparing, literally about 10 minutes before. I was like, where does this dysfunctional relationship come with pain? Like, as humans, like our default when we experience pain is to like run away from it straight away, right? And something came to mind, and it was, you know, the Panadol adverts, and they talk about like having a headache, and you just experience, like, you see this whole person go through the journey of, you know, being in pain, you know, being like this as a human, and then taking the tablet and then the relief. But you can see in that advert, it tells so much about the human, like, avoidance of pain, right? Wanting it to go away, like right away. And even adverts like that, like, it's part of our conditioning. It creates such a dysfunctional relationship with pain and the way we relate to it. Instead of asking ourselves in that moment, okay, can I be with this? And instead of treating the symptom, investigating the root cause, because you can take the Panadol all you like, and the headache might go away, but you're not dealing with the underlying root cause, the thing that's actually causing the headache. And it could be something very simple. It could be something that person isn't drinking enough water, right? Now, more often than not, when it comes to these chronic symptoms, it is slightly more, it's not as simple as not drinking enough water, but you get the gist, right? What's the underlying root cause? And I've mentioned the different ones. It can be emotional suppression, it can be trauma, it can be our identity, it can even be our relationship to pain. And then another one is just stress, right? And there's nothing inherently wrong with stress. Stress is just the body's response to a perceived threat. And the really important word there is perceived. It doesn't have to be like an actual threat to our existence. it's a perceived threat. And when we perceive a threat, we have this fight or flight response. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with this response. But when we're in a chronic state of fight or flight, if we're constantly perceiving threats, then it does have a deleterious effect to our physiology, because we're constantly dumping those, those hormones, heart rate is increases, muscle tension. And eventually, if we're chronically in that state of stress, it will lead to disease. And, different factors like work, finances, and relationships. I know from my own experience of being through this journey, like one of the keys of my disease was my relationships. And, the more I began to heal those relationships, the more my body began to heal. So yeah, they're the different causes. Does anyone have any questions before I move on? I'm going to take a break from talking. Hi, Khadija. Yeah.
Hi. I have a question about how did you disidentify with I'm not an angry person? Like, how did you start the process?
By just embracing anger as part of the human experience. Like I was afraid of anger. I had a lot of conditioning around it. I associated it with, acts of violence, let's say, right? Because that's what many of us associate anger with, is acts of violence due to our conditioning, right? But when I realized that anger actually wasn't bad at all, like it's an emotion, it's part of the human experience. So what helped me to disidentify with it was firstly just allowing it in, just embracing it as part of the human experience. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. But it's like when it does come up, I feel that I'm identified with it already. And then
Yeah.
it's like there is the fear and I feel the anger so much that I become it. And it's like from there I can't really allow it.
Yeah, look, I understand. I've been there myself, and sometimes I still do, where the anger really does, like it can get in and, really take a hold on me. Things that have helped me, honestly, like I've done dynamic meditations where we've done like punching pillows, screaming, roaring. These are different things that I practiced in Bali. I don't actually do it when I do it sometimes if I do feel angry, but also doing it, these dynamic meditations are designed to actually bring these emotions to the surface and then deal with them in a healthy way, in a safe environment. So there are different techniques that have helped me. Yeah, look, there's no right or wrong way to deal with it. But if you feel the need to punch a pillow, if you feel the need to scream, if you feel the need to roar, if that's what you feel you want to do in that moment, because the anger is so strong, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
About the anger is that
Okay. Keep
can you
going.
hear me, Jack? Can you hear me, Jack?
Yeah, I can hear you, Carmel. Hi.
Hi. So for me with the anger bit is I've never learned how to deal with the anger in a healthy way, that I'm not, I react with anger,
Yeah.
and it usually comes out in a non-healthy way, and then I'm left with it, and it makes me feel I must avoid that then. You understand what I mean?
I do.
I wouldn't have the what would I say, like to punch a pillow, or that would be a healthy way of doing it. But usually the anger comes out on the person I'm angry with just say a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's never good. It never works out good for me. You know. So then I try and avoid that then.
Yeah.
It's just to deal with anger in a healthy way is the key.
I understand.
For me anyway.
no, I look, I get it. And like I said to Khadija, those techniques can be healthy. Like there's not always a pillow to reach for in that moment. You know, the one thing I would say is, like, when it comes to anger, something that really helps me is compassion. So just realizing like you're doing the best you can, right? Sometimes anger can arise and yeah, we can be in the moment. Yeah, it's great. We can look back and say, oh, pause, slow down, don't react. But sometimes we do, right? But it's just about noticing it and next time just again doing the best you can. And I would say just yeah, just taking that moment and not reacting and then reflecting on, you know, where does this why is this anger arising in me, right?
Yeah.
But compassion, yeah, compassion for me is it's been super helpful to cultivate um during times of anger, you know, because like you said, we don't always respond in the healthiest way, but it's just about learning from that and doing the best you can the next time. Okay. Thanks, Carol. Okay. Okay, so next is, and I actually find these two, this is wrapped in with identity, but diagnosis. I actually find diagnosis is it's one of the things that actually makes it most difficult for people who experience disease. I'm just going to take my own journey, for example. When I was 24, I was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis and arthritis, right? Now you think about that as a 24-year-old, it's pretty scary, right? You're like, what? Like, and I'm told I can't play sport. I'm told my movement's going to be limited and my symptoms are going to be managed. And what happens to people is, so they're experiencing these sensations, then they go to a doctor, and then the doctor diagnoses them with this disease. And the disease, the diagnosis itself then can become a prison. Because you think about, right, my experience. Every morning I wake up in the morning, I say, I have arthritis and I have ankylosing spondylitis. And that's the way I walk around on the planet. And even in the way energetically that I hold myself, in the way that I walk, in the way that I get out of bed, in the way that I go about my day, everything is very cautious. Everything is in a state of fear because I'm so worried about this disease that I've now identified with. So to me, diagnosis is not helpful unless it empowers the person to heal. So what I mean by that is, so you take I'm going to use my example again. I have arthritis is not helpful, right? That's not helpful. That doesn't do anything except increase my levels of fear, make me feel more powerless and more helpless, right? But when I began to investigate, okay, what is this? What is ankylosing spondylitis? What is arthritis? What I realized is what I was experiencing was inflammation. Okay? So that is a far more powerful diagnosis because at least I can understand, okay, at the moment I'm experiencing inflammation. So currently, so I'm a soul having a human experience. And as part of that human experience, at the moment, my body is experiencing some excess heat, some inflammation currently. That doesn't mean it's always going to be that way. But you can see that's far more powerful than the identity, I have arthritis. Because to that identity, there is a permanence there. And there's no even possibility to heal. But at least with, okay, I'm a soul and I'm currently experiencing an imbalance, and that's called arthritis, but it's just excess heat, it's inflammation. Okay, now what steps can Jack take to reverse that inflammation and come back into balance? So equally with any of your symptoms, the diagnosis is not helpful unless it is empowering you to heal. So really to understand what are the actual symptoms, what are the qualities of the symptoms? Is it excess heat? Is it we're getting a little bit into Ayurveda now, but like what's the nature of the imbalance? Because once you understand the nature of the imbalance, you can then take steps to rebalance. Okay? So that's diagnosis. And then prognosis. So prognosis is when someone tells you you have, the common example is you have X amount of weeks to live, right? For someone who has cancer. Now, guess what? If you tell someone that they have 3 weeks to live, they're probably only going to live for 3 weeks because now they've created that future for themselves. Whereas for me, I don't tell anyone, create no expectations. It's just about empowering the person, firstly, to understand their symptom, and then the steps they can take to come back into balance. But more importantly than that, like I said earlier, is just to accept the symptoms as they are. To stop being in this mode of trying to fix yourself, just to accept it as it is. That is the thing that will promote healing more than anything. And yeah, why I find the practice is really helpful, like I said, from my own experience, is when people practice meditation, breathwork, or relaxation like we did, they can actually get a glimpse of what it feels like to experience that natural state of health, that natural state of well-being, peace, calm, and ease. So at least it gives them that glimpse of a possibility that they can heal. So that's why I do like people to experience the practices as well as have this wisdom too. Okay, so that's diagnosis and prognosis. Does anyone have any questions before we move on?
Hi, Jack.
Hello, hi, Aaron.
Hi, how are you? I have a quick question about that. I'm trying to find a balance between stop trying to fix it and just accepting it,
Yeah,
versus accepting it and giving up. As if to say, I have this illness and there's nothing I can do about it, so I'll just give up.
No. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Trying to find the balance between I won't let this illness impact me and I'm going to keep going, versus being smart enough to go, hold on, I'm actually having symptoms and I physically can't keep going, or I should listen to my body, as opposed to, no, I'm not going to let this impact me. I'm going to keep pushing, and out of stubbornness maybe, or that's where I'm just trying to find
I get it.
the balance
100%.
between those things. Yeah.
And something to notice is, right, because you can still and I feel like this is important, is this doesn't mean take no action whatsoever and just stop, looking for guidance and help, right? Because if we experience disease, it can be helpful, right, to go to acupuncturists, whatever it might be, right? But outside, it's really about noticing where the desire comes from. So you might take a decision and be like, I'm going to the acupuncturist in 2 weeks, right? But often for people, it comes from that state of reaction, right? They experience the symptom flare up and then they go into fix mode, and it's like panic, and it's like, shit, I need to deal with this right now, right?
Yeah.
Instead of in that moment just being like, oh, okay, this is arising to the surface again. And again, back to that mantra, I see you, I love you, and being completely non-reactive, right? And then when it passes away, then seeing, okay, right, now, what would I like to do now in this, while I'm in this state? What feels, do you see the difference? Yeah. Because I feel for many people, it's when they're when the symptoms flare up, then they start to go into panic and fix mode. And such an important part of the human experience in general is just to embrace the sensations and symptoms we experience. So that would be number one. And then you can still take action. but just notice, even like, you can say, I'm going to see an acupuncturist in 2 weeks. That's your commitment, but that doesn't mean you've got to constantly dwell. And, outside of that, then it's your practices. So you're going to the acupuncturist, but then your practice outside of the acupuncturist is, okay, when these symptoms arise, I'm going to love them as they are.
Yeah.
Because there's so many ways that we can promote healing ourselves, outside of our healing sessions.
Yeah.
So don't become reliant on the person. And that's why the things that I'm really speaking to on this talk is ways that we can really heal ourselves. And this is really about empowerment, what we can do for ourselves. And that doesn't mean that we don't take action and we don't seek help and guidance, which is great. But ultimately, we can see all the doctors in the world, right? And there can be a time when, okay, do you know what? I actually feel like it's cool, right? But then the next day, we could experience a symptom in the body. That could just happen. And is the same reaction going to happen where it's like, oh shit, I need to see an acupuncturist, right? Or in that moment, okay, can I be with this? Like I said, I can still experience pain, symptoms, but it's just my relationship to them has completely changed.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think I've arthritis as well. And I think when I get pain, I get panic. It's a kind of an instant, I won't be able to use my hands, and I kind of start to, worrying about a future that hasn't happened. I start to think there will come a time where my hands won't work, or I already feel it in some of my joints and my fingers, and it's a pure panic. And then I either go 100% all in, like a crazy lunatic, researching everything, changing everything, or going the exact opposite and just sitting on the couch eating chocolate and saying, what's the point? So it's a total flip-flop between the two. But what you're saying here is so good, because it is that accepting, and as you were saying, what Kevin was saying, that just accept those symptoms, or you just feel them and it's like, that's okay, you're welcome, what are you trying to tell me? And just framing it differently, I suppose, rather than the panic feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And even finding that balance between the complete apathy and eating chocolate and the I need to fix, it's like, instead, the thing for you, I would say, is just get really still. Just pause.
Yeah.
Just go down. And just give yourself permission to feel it. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to, you can eat chocolate because chocolate is lovely, but a balance, I'd say a midpoint between the two.
Yeah.
This comes to me as well as what began to help me in terms of my healing process was, I used to completely see them as symptoms, right? That's all I used to see them as. But what really changed for me is when I used to ask myself questions like, has something happened in the last couple of days that has just, is there something that I'm scared of? Is there something I'm worried about? Did I have an argument with someone yesterday? Am I angry because of a comment? And I began to realize, is it really a symptom, or is it an emotion that I'm just holding on to? That something that, do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
It transitions us from being in that fixed mode and I need to see a doctor and research to actually, I'm just going through something at the moment. I'm experiencing an emotion, and can I just allow it to be there? Like you said, can I welcome it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Super. Thank you.
Okay. And on that point, I remember when the people used to say to me, like the first guy who said to me about my symptoms having these kind of emotional and maybe mental factors, like I completely rejected the idea. I was like, nah. I was like, I'm fine. It's just my body. But when I began to meditate, and like, this can really, I can say it all I like, but really, from working with people in my own experience, it's one of those things that people realize for themselves. When I began to meditate, I did experience states of calm and balance and ease, But I also began to experience the emotions that I've been suppressing. And I began to witness my thoughts. And it was only then that I realized, okay, yeah, there are different factors here that are causing the disease, because I realized that in moments I would experience anger, or in moments that I'd experience sadness, guess what? My symptoms would flare up too. And that's why meditation has been helpful for me, because it's actually given me the space to really sit with and be with those emotions and those sensations. So yeah, that gives you a bit of a glimpse into my own experience with them. And, you know, it's something that I often talk about, is really just embracing your humanity. And your humanness is sensations, emotions, thoughts, just embracing all of it as part of this human experience. Okay, so there are the different causes. I've also gone a little bit into healing as well. Just the number one is, you know, that response to our symptoms. Now, something that this has been a game changer for me too is this idea of life intelligence, because I think for many people who experience symptoms, they really feel like they're broken, they're fragile, they're unfixable. And these are all can be part of our identity. And when I realized the concept of life intelligence, it actually just completely changed the game for me. Firstly, I had to realize those different beliefs that I had about myself. Like I had these beliefs that I'm fragile, I'm unfixable, there's something wrong with me. So firstly, becoming aware of them. And then also realizing this concept of life intelligence, because I feel, again, due to our conditioning and the modern world we live in, there is so much fear, like around our bodies, right? That we can't handle stuff, right? That we're fragile and anything can get at us, right? And this is because we do have an epidemic of chronic, like everyone seems to have an ailment, right? If you talk to anyone, if they don't have a cough or a cold, they have some sort of chronic back pain, they have, you know, so it creates this, they have digestive issues, they have headaches, whatever it might be. So it creates this whole idea that, like, you know, disease is really normal, right? And that health is almost like abnormal. And it creates this whole distrust around our bodies. I've seen it with so many people who have zero trust in their bodies whatsoever. So life intelligence is realizing that, firstly, like if you get a cut on your hand, right? This is life intelligence. If you get a cut on your hand, you do not have to tell that cut to heal. That cut will do it all by itself. That's life intelligence. You don't need to interfere at all. It'll just happen. Equally, if you eat some food in the morning, you do not have to tell your body to digest that food. It just does it. This is life intelligence. This vessel, this bio vessel, is honestly the most incredible piece of equipment, the most incredible piece of technology. And it's like, it's divine. It's divine. And a lot of the time we just don't need to interfere. So like we have this life intelligence within us, and really much of what I'm speaking about and much of the practices that I do with people is just about awakening this inner intelligence, allowing the body to do its thing. The body knows it knows how to make healthy cells, but we just need to allow it to do its thing. And in order to do that, it's about creating an environment of healing and calm and balance, as opposed to hostility. And how do we do that? We do that through acceptance and allowing. So that is the key takeaway: acceptance and embracing whatever, like you feel the sensations, you feel the symptoms arise, just allowing them to be there. Creating that environment of love and compassion. That's what generates healing. And, you know, on life intelligence too, this is another kind of example that helped me, is It's the same intelligence that, you know, if you plant a seed, a plant grows. So you have cells and DNA within you exactly the same as these seeds. And these seeds know how to make a human body. They know how to heal, they know how to repair. But our opportunity is just to create an environment where those cells can thrive. Okay? So that brings the talk to an end. There's two things I'm just going to close with. You know, firstly is really when you experience a symptom, shifting from why is this happening to me to what can I learn from this? We think about all the ways the symptoms are like, you know, all the things that they're stopping us doing, right? I remember that. It was like, oh, it's stopping me playing sport. It's stopping me going to the gym. It's stopping me doing this. It's stopping me doing that. And instead of asking the question, what do the symptoms want me to start doing? And it was only when I started asking questions like that, the symptoms wanted me to slow down. They wanted me to pause and connect to who I truly am. And for that reason, the symptoms were a gift. But it was only when I started listening to them. See, the symptoms, they're the physical representation of disease. So to me, what disease really is it's the soul's way of communicating with us through the physical dimension of the body. And it's just communicating with you that there's some way you're just out of alignment. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just an opportunity to come back into alignment. And the second thing, and this is what I'll leave the talk with, is if you want to promote healing, the number one thing to do is to love yourself exactly as you are. And that's it. Love yourself exactly as you are. So before we go into the practices, if anyone has any questions, I'll take them now. We have some time. We have some time. So yeah, any questions, please let me know, and I will do my best to answer. It was great to see you all. I actually haven't done kind of an online thing in a while. I've done like a few in-person things, but not online. So it's good to be back. It's good to be back. And I would like to do something like this on a consistent basis because, you know, I feel like even from my own experience, I feel like having community. I mean, people will know this who did the Peter Crone courses, particularly when you're on a healing journey. I think community is so important. So yeah, that's all in the works at the moment. We'll see what comes of it. But I feel just having that support, having these conversations, doing these practices consistently are really helpful to promote healing. And then something else that I'll mention too, it just came to me, is one thing that I kind of underestimated in terms of my own healing is just the power of nature. Like honestly, nature has so much wisdom, and actually just spending time in nature, it's where the body wants to be because the body is nature too. It's made up of the same elements. So just putting it into that environment is so healing. Like honestly, it's been incredible in my healing journey. It's just walking in nature, getting out in nature, hugging a tree if you're into that. Right, so we'll go into the practices. Yeah, we're going to do 2 pranayama techniques. So pranayama is breath work, the yogis would call it. So, but the difference is, and this is really this is where the yogis had such a more subtle aspect, even in the language that they use, is pranayama, right, is 2 words. So it's control of prana, right? So it's not breath work, it's control of prana. And prana is universal life intelligence. So the way the yogis would describe it is, the breath isn't just the breath, right? We see it as just this thing, this, you know, on a quite superficial level. But according to the yogis, the breath is our medium of connecting with the universe, right? We inhale the universe and then we exhale the waste, right? So prana translates as universal life force intelligence. So according to the yogis, each time we take a breath, that universal life force intelligence is traveling on the breath and into this bio vessel. So just when you're practicing these techniques, just to add a subtler layer dimension to the practices, each breath you take, it's not just a breath. You're literally inhaling universal life force intelligence. Prana. So we're going to do two breathwork practices and then a meditation. Here we've got 45 minutes. So the first one is box breath. So this is inhaling for a count of 4, holding the breath for 4, exhaling for 4, and holding the breath for 4. So my tips that I would give you for these techniques is, firstly, treat them as an exploration. There's no right or wrong way to do it. We're stepping out of right or wrong. We're going into exploration. We're going into opportunity. So this is just an opportunity to connect to your breath. Okay. So the other 2 aspects to it is to integrate that diaphragm breath from the opening part of the class, and to also, if possible, inhale and exhale through your nose. You might experience blockages in your nose. You probably will, right? When I was doing these in India, the first time I did them, my nostrils were completely blocked. That's okay. If it becomes too difficult to breathe at all, just try inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. And if at any stage you get distracted or lose count, that's cool. Just pick up from wherever you got lost. So the first one is box breath. We'll do this first. I'm going to guide you through all the rounds. You can sit up tall for this. It's helpful to have the spine straight. And then we'll go into the next one. So firstly, you can just gently close your eyes. You can rest your hands on your lap or just wherever feels comfortable. Just gently resting the eyes to close. And noticing maybe you might feel some contraction maybe in the face or the shoulders. And just seeing if you can just soften. Soften the jaw and allow the shoulders just to drop from the ears. And before we begin the box breath, we're just going to take a couple of just deep breaths all together. So just inhaling deeply. Exhale, release. Inhaling deeply. Exhale, release. And now we begin. So inhaling, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. Continuing. Remembering the diaphragm breath into the belly, into the chest. Holding. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Keeping your eyes closed, return to the natural rhythm of your breath. And just observe. Okay, so we're going to go into our next technique. So this is called alternate nostril breathing or Nadi Shodhana. Now, personally, this has been an amazing technique for me, but this is about balancing the left and right hemispheres of the brain. It's also about balancing our lunar and solar energies. So for this technique, you can just observe me for a sec. So for this technique, we're going to use our right hand. And using our right hand, we're going to place the index finger and the middle finger onto the palm of the hand like this. And we're going to use our thumb to block our right nostril and our ring finger to block our left nostril. So thumb, right nostril, ring finger, left nostril. And we're going to alternate like this. So if you want to just get used to the movement first. Okay. So the way this practice is going to work is we're going to inhale. So I'm just going to demonstrate first. We're going to inhale left before. We're then going to exhale right before. We're going to inhale right before. And then we're going to exhale left before. So I'm going to guide you through, that's one round. We'll do a few rounds. I'm going to guide you through all the rounds. Just to be aware, one nostril might be completely blocked. That's okay. That's completely normal. Just keep doing your best, right? You don't need to fix your nostril, right? That's just part of what it is to practice this at the start. Often one nostril is completely blocked. And then otherwise, just focus on your breath, focus on your prana, inhaling for 4, inhaling left for 4, exhaling right for 4, inhaling right for 4, exhaling left for 4. I'll guide you through all the rounds. So firstly, you can leave your hand here, but don't block any of the nostrils. We're just going to take a couple of breaths just so we can synchronize our breaths and all be together. So firstly, take a deep inhale. Exhale, release. Inhale through both nostrils. Exhale, release. And now block the right nostril with the thumb and inhale through the left. Inhale left, 2, 3, 4. Exhale right, 2, 3, 4. Inhale right, 2, 3, 4. Exhale left, 2, 3, 4. Inhale left, 2, 3, 4. Exhale right, 2, 3, 4. Inhale right, 2, 3, 4. Exhale left, 2, 3, 4. Inhale left, 2, 3, 4. Exhale right, 2, 3, 4. Inhale right, 2, 3, 4. Exhale left, 2, 3, 4. Inhale left, 2, 3, 4. Exhale right, 2, 3, 4. Inhale right, 2, 3, 4. Exhale left, 2, 3, 4. Inhale left, 2, 3, 4. Exhale right, 2, 3, 4. Inhale right, 2, 3, 4. Exhale left, 2, 3, 4. Now close your eyes gently if they're not already closed and return to the natural rhythm of your breath and just observe the effect of this technique. Okay, so we're going to move into our meditation now. Can I just ask, is the connection okay here or is it dropping off a bit? Is it all good, yeah? Okay. If it drops off, will someone just put a message into the chat? I don't know, someone froze, so I was just thinking it could have dropped off, but yeah, just drop a message into the chat if you're having any connection difficulties, okay? But for now, we'll go into the guided meditation. So for this bit, it's nice to lie down. If you want to sit up, if your practice is seated, that's cool. You can sit up, but yeah, lying down is great. So finding a restful position. If you're seated, just allowing the legs to be soft and spine long. The spine is stacked with energy through the crown of the head. And if you're lying down, just allow Mother Earth, the Great Mother, to support you, to hold you. There's nothing you have to do. There's nothing you need. And there's nowhere to get to. And from that space, just allowing yourself to be here in the timeless now. And we're firstly going to connect into our bodies. So starting with the feet, softening each of your toes individually, one by one. Softening the soles of your feet. And softening your heels. Soften your ankles. Softening your calves. Softening your shins. And softening your knees. Be effortless and completely relax. Soften your thighs. Soften your hamstrings. Soften your glutes. And softening the hips. Allowing the legs to completely relax. And now bringing your awareness to the base of the spine, the very base. And then begin to work your way up through your spine individually, one by one. Working your way through each vertebrae and softening. Be effortless. Softening the neck. And now moving your awareness to the center of the pelvis. And take one breath here at the center of the pelvis. Move your awareness to the navel center and take one breath. Be effortless and completely relax. The bottom of your sternum, take one breath. The center of your chest, One breath. Deeply relax. Center of the throat. Take one breath. And now moving your awareness to the tips of the fingers and the thumb, and take one breath here. Awareness of the palms of the hands. Take one breath. Awareness at the wrist joint, and take one breath. Awareness of the elbow joint. Deeply relax. There's no trying here. This is an effortless practice. Awareness at the tops of the shoulders. Just be aware of the tops of the shoulders. And now our awareness shifts to the face. Firstly, just allowing the jaw to soften. The tongue drops from the roof of the mouth and spreads. And now your awareness transitions to the opening of the nostrils. The prana, or energy unique to this center, is infused with the joy of stillness. The joy of stillness. Awareness at the opening of the nostrils. Moving awareness to the inner corners of the eyes. The prana unique to this center is infused with non-sensory joy or sweet joy. Awareness at the eyebrow center. The prana here is infused with an uplifting energy. And that energy uplifts us into the center of the forehead, which is your command center, your center of intuitive awareness. Rest your awareness here at the eyebrow center and deeply relax. And then moving awareness to the crown of the head. Be effortless. And now just take a moment to experience all these points like a constellation of stars. Brightly shining. And just noticing the life that courses inside you. You are live. And you are life. And then mentally repeating the following mantras. You can just do them once if you like. But repeating the mantra, I am whole. I am whole. And then repeating the mantra, I am health. I am health. I am whole. I am health. And now transitioning your awareness to your breath. So noticing, observing the natural rhythm of the breath as it travels through your body. Being aware of your inhales and being aware of your exhales. Observing your breath. Allowing the breath to be silent, smooth, and even. And this occurs by being completely effortless and just witnessing the breath. You don't need to change or push the breath. Just observe it. We will now move into silence for the next few minutes. During this silence, continue to observe your breath as it travels through your body. Naturally, the mind will wander and become distracted. Just become aware of the mind wandering, and without judgment of your thoughts, feelings, emotions, or sensations, effortlessly bring your awareness back to your breath, observing your inhales and exhales. If your mind has wandered, without judgment, returning to your breath, observing its natural rhythm. And then begin to come into your body. So just taking any small movements you would like to wake your body up. There's no right or wrong way to do it, just whatever feels nice. Whatever movements feel intuitive to you. And then gradually just rolling onto your right hand side and just make a cushion with your hand here. And then gradually making your way to a seat. And when you make your way to your seat, just resting your eyes to close, we're just going to do one final section to the class, just a couple of minutes before we close. So just gently closing the eyes. And just taking a moment of gratitude here. A moment of gratitude for nature, the plants, the flowers, the rivers, the lakes, the mountains, the forests, gratitude for your body, mind, gratitude for your heart, gratitude for the animals, the dogs and the cats, gratitude for your senses, your ears, eyes, nose, and the gift of smell, your mouth, and the gift of taste, and your fingertips and the gift of touch. Gratitude to the sun, the source of energy, and then just taking a moment here, just something you might be grateful for, maybe a person, maybe something. And then with that deep sense of gratitude, opening the eyes and coming back into the room. Okay. That ends it, guys. I'm just going to stop the recording, but then you guys are welcome to ask questions.